600 or so. And then, oh, here they are. We have the lapis, the spiny oyster, and turquoise, as well as that pink opal and turquoise. And these are $89, Jay.
I mean...
It's your choice of 2 different sizes.
Yeah, I mean, that's just crazy. And these are...
Here, they stretch.
These are amazing sellers. So we're down to the last of the run on these. They come in 2 different sizes, too.
Yeah.
I don't know if we... Do we have the large?
7 1/4 or 8 1/4. But limited, like you just said.
So you actually get 2 different sizes. On Siobhan, there's a perfect look right there.
Your choice of, right? So I just wanted to show you the smaller and the larger.
So you can get them in all the different colors.
Yeah.
You can get them in the lapis, the turquoise and spiny, or the turquoise and pink opal. Okay, you can see on Siobhan. Now, Siobhan has a very normal but a very petite wrist. So I would go with the medium small.
Yeah.
Okay, for that.
That's 7 1/4.
And that fits her perfectly.
Yes, it does.
And then if you have a larger wrist, say my size, you want to go with a medium large. And that's what that is right there. But the way these are engineered, that's all sterling silver. You can see those are all custom made. And it was kind of our new take on a bangle style bracelet.
And you can't tell that it's a bangle when it's on. You can't tell it.
When it's on, it looks like it looks like a bangle.
Stretch.
But here's the key thing with bangle bracelets, and the reason, one of the main key reasons I always stayed away from them. I did do them when I was a young designer, but I really didn't put a lot of effort and energy into them because everybody's hand size is different.
Well,
so you might have a smaller wrist, but your hand's really big, or maybe your hand's smaller and you got a bigger wrist.
So true.
So it's really hard to work them. By doing these designs where we have like the magnetic clasp that fold over, you can do it like that, which I love. Or this was a brand new concept with which is a stretch bracelet, but in sterling silver, not beads. And
it looks like a hard bangle, and it's $89. Seriously, 4 monthly payments of $22.48. Don't wait. Oh, you have to see this, guys. You have got to know that the watch is coming up. And the reason why we're showing you this is because it's sort of building. This is a beautifully written show, Jay. Everything's sort of mixing and matching together so nicely. Next up is